practice. So.
Well, and I think all of this talking to you is a good reminder, anybody who's a law student, that I feel like a lot of times law schools really stress federal clerkships as sort of the holy grail, but there's a whole world of state court clerkships that bring you in contact with a lot of really interesting stuff and really practical experience, because that's where most of the litigation happens, frankly.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, certainly clerking at a federal court's a great experience, but if you have an interest in being a Texas trial or appellate lawyer, clerking at the Supreme Court might be the best place for you to go, because you become familiar with the kind of contours of the law on different issues. You understand the judicial philosophy of the court. You understand kind of what kind of cases are likely to end up in the court. You understand how to avoid problems in the trial court that often appear on appeal. So I think all those things are beneficial to you if you're going to be a Texas litigator. And the Texas Supreme Court might be the best in terms of a practical experience for you aboard a clerk.
You described your clerkship experience as sort of almost like an extension of law school. And that was the way that I viewed it. And I think what you said about the Supreme Court clerkship for a Texas appellate lawyer is exactly right. That's been my experience for, more years than I care to think of now. And I do lament, though, that the intermediate courts have kind of moved away from a clerkship model and into a permanent staff model. I think it's great for folks to be able to have those permanent staff jobs and really become, sort of court specialists like they have in the federal system, as like a career clerk. But unfortunately, that's turned up the competition, I think, for the Supreme Court and Court of Criminal Appeals clerkships. And as a result, there just are fewer people that are able to take advantage of that experience at the intermediate court level, which I think had a tremendous amount of value too.
Yeah, it's, I guess I can understand why they did away with it to some degree, because you have to go through that hiring every year, and those courts are, extremely busy and kind of have year-round dockets. But it is a bummer, because I think the more people that can clerk, I think the better the practice of law will be ultimately, if you can have more folks that have filtered through that system to see how it's kind of done. Then hopefully you have attorneys that are coming out ready to practice right away in a meaningful way. But again, there's no, clerking is not at all a requirement, and there's plenty of lawyers who don't clerk. But for me, I just thought that from what I was interested in, and I kind of enjoyed the intellectual experience of studying the law, that clerking was if you don't really want to dig in and do a bunch of writing, a bunch of research, then clerking is definitely not for you. If you want to go be kind of,
neither is appellate work for that matter.
Yeah, for that matter, you're probably not listening to this podcast. But if you if that's of interest to you, then clerking for sure would be a good fit.